Okay, so it's 5:02 actually instead of 5 o'clock. We have Brad Manley. Brad Manley, you seem to be muted. Linda Adams, Kath Howard, Katie, I'm not even going to try to pronounce your last name.
Kazakos.
There you go. And Alan and Dave, who are participating from the audience. So what we're going to do today is Katie's going to moderate. I just kind of am here to set it up. I'm going to darken my screen and listen in. We'll have a recording of all the answers. Many answers have already been submitted. We will have, depending on time constraints, we may have more semi-live meetings. So if anybody has, or semi-live questions, so if anybody has any questions, use the chat feature. Send those questions to me directly or Katie directly. Katie's going to be kind of tied up with the moderating, so it might be easier just to send them to me. Katie's going to go over some basic rules. She's going to give a rotation. Everybody that is participating as a candidate will have questions and a rotation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie.
All right. Well, thank you to you guys who came here to participate. So I just want to quickly introduce everyone who's participating. We have Kath Howard and Brad Manley, who are running for supervisor. And we have Linda Adams, who's running for trustee. And it's my understanding that Terrence Green, who's also running for trustee, may be participating in this. And I'm going to give you guys 90 seconds to introduce yourself in just 1 minute. But first, I want to go through how it'll work. I want it to be super simple. We're going to try to keep this at about an hour, I hope. So I'm going to ask a question, and we're going to rotate through each of you, starting with Linda Adams. So we're going to give each person 90 seconds to answer the question. I'm going to try to give a signal or something like that at 1 minute. And if it gets to 90, I will let you know. If a rebuttal is needed or wanted, that'll be 45 seconds. And I don't know if I'll be able to watch the chat very closely, but if you like put up your hand or something, that'll let me know. Are there any questions?
Not that I can think of.
Okay. Let me get my
1 second, please.
Okay.
I need to confirm that Brad Manley has audio.
Oh.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so Linda, I'm going to ask you the first question, and then Kath, assuming Terrence doesn't show up, you'll always be after Linda, and then Brad. Well, we're rotating. Do you guys understand what I mean?
Okay.
So
Linda, Kath, Brad. Linda, Kath, Brad.
And then for the second question, it'll be Kath, Brad, Linda. And then
okay,
for the third,
I see.
Brad. Yeah, so I'm trying to do that so we don't have one person always being the first to answer a question.
Okay.
Okay. And like Jeff pointed out to me earlier, if I'm always cueing you guys, it might be difficult with the technology because it'll be bouncing back and forth all the time. Okay.
So it's like shuffling a deck. It's like playing cards.
Yeah. All right. Are you guys ready to start?
I'm ready.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. So we'll start with Linda. So all of you, can you guys please introduce yourself and let us know why you're running for office?
Okay, my name is Linda Adams. I'm running for trustee under a Democratic ticket. My main reason for running has always been I love this township. I grew up in this township. I'm a lifelong resident. My kids made 5th generation Lincoln alumni. So this township has always meant a lot to me. In the past, there's been a lot that's went wrong, and I want to be part of the solution to make it better and continue to make it better. I didn't join the board at the last election. I came on approximately the end of June of last year when one of the other trustees resigned. It's been my pleasure to serve, and I want to continue to serve. I've since being put on the BOT, I've joined the ZBA and the fireman committee. And as much as I can do for this township, I'd love to do this township. I have a lot of great ideas for things I'd like to continue and to expand on what I've already done. So yeah, it comes down to the love for this township is my main reason for running.
Okay. So my name's Kath Howard, and my initial background has been a social worker, and I began working in social work in the 1970s. And that really, I guess my whole perspective has been that most human problems are basically community issues. And that if you work on your community, you work on bettering human conditions. So I first ran for trustee in 2012 when I was asked by a current board member at the time if I would be interested. And I had just come off a period of time where I had not been working for a while, and community service has always been really important to me. So I ran and I won, and I was not satisfied with just coming to 2 meetings a week and voting, which is the only thing that's truly required by law of a trustee. So since then, I've been very involved. I've been the FOIA coordinator. I've been involved with the Urban County Executive Committee and trying to bring services to Augusta Township. The reason I'm running for supervisor is that I am concerned we have a number of issues that are vital to this community, getting our fire department built, and especially correcting the...
That's 90 seconds.
Okay, correcting issues with the water department. And I feel like I'm more organized and more familiar with running those kinds, doing management and program development.
Linda, do you want like 10 extra seconds, or are you good?
I'm good. I'm fine.
Brad, I'll give you 100 seconds. I'm just trying to make it even. All right? All right, Brad. You're on mute.
Can you hear me?
Now I can. I'm starting you at 0.
Okay. I'm Brad Manley. I'm running for Augusta Township Supervisor's write-in candidate. I've been a public servant for 25 years now. I've worked for Wayne County. Now currently I work at the airport. I'm running for Township Supervisor because I don't like things that are going on. I want to give the voice back to the residents of Augusta Township. And by doing that means having public hearings, public input. There's a lot of fighting going on at the township. I'm not about fighting. I want to work closely with all the officers in the township to improve our township as a whole. Big firefighter supporter. I believe that firefighters are a backbone of our community. They provide not only firefighting assistance for fires, but they also provide critical EMS services. And I look forward to improving those EMS services throughout the Augusta Township. I do not believe one fire department is enough to serve our needs. Look for satellite yards or equipment for individual firefighters to be able to spread out amongst our township officials, our township residents, to better serve our residents as a whole. I look forward to working with the Washtenaw Road Commission to improve our ditching, mowing, and as well as Monroe to improve our ditches south of us. So that's it. I'm sorry if I talk a little fast.
Okay. So next question. So Kath, you would start this one. Where do you stand on a police presence in the township? Kath?
I think this is a very controversial question among our residents. It's a lot of people are really have asked over the years about having policing, and then there's quite a vocal group that are against policing. I actually think that it's a resident issue, and I think it should be decided on a ballot. The reality is it will cost money to have a police department, whether you have policing through the sheriff's office or whether we develop our own. And there are pluses and minuses to both of that. And I don't believe that we have done anywhere near the work that we should to determine what would be in the best interest of this community. The one thing I will say is that by law, charter townships are supposed to provide police services not exactly just rely on the state police.
You still have 30 more seconds if you want.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't,
I'm doing
I thought
so
that was like my warning to be quiet. I really think that there needs to be a lot more. I personally believe that there should be a great deal more input from residents about this issue. I think community policing is not a bad thing. That I think see is very different from just giving out tickets. I think that's the kind of thing where you have someone checking on neighbors' homes. You have someone dealing with, you know, trying to catch dumpers.
90 seconds. Brad?
Yes, so same question.
Yes.
Okay, so where do I stand with policing community? Well, I believe that would have to go to public hearings to see where the residents stand with what they want. Number one, myself, I'm not for supporting a police department. What I mean by that is paying wash and all for police services. I am for looking at hiring retired officers, neighborhood watch programs, even security guards to patrol our neighborhoods. I'm not for, one thing that bothers me is that I don't want to see the Augusta residents harassed, being pulled over all the time, and when their concerns is their property is being broken into. So we're going to have officers writing tickets while somebody's property is still being broken into. I'd like to come up with a plan that would address the residents' concerns more and take care of the break-ins in our township and take care of our residents at the same time. That's where I stand on that issue.
Thanks. Linda?
I'm not for or against either way. As Kath had said, it does cost money, so I feel that this is something that residents do have to vote on. I don't think it's a board decision. I think because it costs money, that has to be voted on. We had one gentleman by the name of, I believe it was Mr. Dill, I think he was a county commissioner, that came to the board meeting pre-COVID and was talking about that there may be some funds for our township to help pay for that. And I'm not sure if that was followed up with, and I think that's something we also need to follow up with, because it may make a decision, you know, make it easier on other people to decide if there is funds out there to help pay for this. I know I've had a lot of people that talk to me about parks and stuff, and they say if we have a park, they definitely want a police presence. Something, you know, someone that could be able to patrol those type of areas and stuff like that. But ultimately, it comes down to residents need to decide that. I agree. I don't want someone out here harassing residents. That's not what I want. I would like faster response times. Because right now we have them coming out of, I think it's Novi, and it takes a while if the police do come out here. So I'm not opposed to them being here if they are doing the job correctly. And like Kath said, being able to monitor people's homes when they're out of town and things like that. But what it comes down to at the very end is I think this is something that needs to go before the residents for them to decide.
All right. Next question. So Brad, you'll be answering this one first. It looks like you're on mute.
Yep, I'm unmuting.
Oh, okay. Do you have any plans to address dumping in our township?
Yes. One would be through public service, security guards, our own police department, or other ways is cameras, lighting those populated dumping grounds that we see. Fence if possible. If we're able to put a fence up to stop people from dumping in certain areas, it's been a common dumping ground. Neighborhood watches. That's my answer. That's it.
Kath?
Oh, well, one of the things that I think has to happen is that you have to, I think there's a community response that has to occur with dumping. One is that you have to have a preventative approach. So you have to like try and find where dumping occurs and identify that. I have also talked with people about the idea of cameras But you have to have someone monitor that, and that would require either hiring someone or having a policing service or getting a community group that is willing to monitor cameras with you, because this is a large township, and dumping is widespread through here. It can be off of McKean, it can be off of Hitchingham, it's, you know, in the creeks at the end of Bunton. So it's in a variety of different places in the south end of Bunton. So it's in a variety of places. It's not like it's just located in one central locale. The other thing is that you have to have consequences, and the consequences and you have to be able to implement consequences, which means having some form of connection with someone who can enforce that. And you have to advertise those consequences when they happen, so they're a deterrent. And the third is you have to have a way of disposing of the.
That's 90 seconds.
You have to have a disposal method, and that all of those things cost money, and they require looking at how to budget for it and how to fund it.
All right, and Linda, I'm sorry I jumped over you.
Oh, it's okay. First thing that I agree with everybody else, we need to have some kind of monitoring system on this. I had suggested before getting even something as basic as trail cams, and they get moved around the township on a weekly basis. That way no one knows. Having a camera at every single dump site, because there is so many in this township, may become quite costly, but if they never know when they're being recorded, that will help. I do think there needs to be stiffer penalties. The problem is people knows that the penalty isn't that high for it. So even if they get caught, it's not that big of a deal. So we need to find some way to get a stiffer penalty for when you are caught doing this. I do think volunteers, we had something set up over the summer where people got together and did dump or pick up the dump areas. I think maybe we need to have things around that time if we do continue with the cleanup thing, you know, once COVID is a little bit more past us, they could be maybe set around that time as well. I think we do have some property in the township that's not being used, where some of this stuff can maybe be put there till we do have a spring cleanup, and that could be the solution for where we're dumping the stuff. But the main thing is, I think we need stiffer penalties. We need these people to know that they're going to get in serious trouble when they're caught doing it.
All right. So next question, Linda, you'll be rebut.
Yes, just a little bit addition, Ed, that's all. Would we like to do that, or we just ask to be a rebuttal?
Sure, do it.
So just to add,
45 seconds.
Okay, just to add a quick thing, you know, as I work at the airport, we have several security cameras. There is recording devices for those type of cameras, so we wouldn't have to pay for a monitoring system. If a resident was to call up and report a dumping, you can go through and they're all time-stamped. You can also have a recording motion sensor camera where it only records when something's happening or a car passes by. But if the residents were to report that, we'd be able to go back through those tapes that last for 7 days and look at the data when it was dumped, and track it down and find the person responsible. That's all I'm going to add.
All right, so Linda will start us off on the next question. Do you have any ideas on new ways the township can support residents who are struggling financially?
We do have a system set up for like bill payment and things like that. A lot of it goes by income based. That is also something that I'm wanting to look more into. I'm going to be getting a grant writing course, and I think that there may be some things out there that can help people. You just have to have the knowledge for these type of grants. I think we also need to go state level to see what we have that's available for our residents, especially during the time of COVID. There may be a lot more resources out there for people. But yeah, we definitely need more, especially like I said, during this time. I think we need to go beyond our, you know, if you're a lower base income, because some they may go on what they made last year, and that's totally different than what it is now. Again, there's a lot of resources out there. We just need to be able to find them, and that's more of the direction I plan on going if I'm reelected, is different grants and different things, different ways to be able to bring money to this township.
Kath?
Okay. You know, this is a difficult question, and the reason I'm saying it's a difficult question is that local governments generally are not funded to provide social services. And so it's when you ask what can you do, a lot of what you can do as a smaller municipality who does not have that type of funding, and you may not get that type of funding. It sounds really great to go for grants. Somebody who has written many grants and who has applied for many grants, I know how many grants that were not gotten in over a course of 40 years. But there are a ton of resources within the county. What you have to do is be able to encourage residents who need assistance to come forward and have people within our own township hall who are willing to help assess what their needs are and direct them to the most appropriate resources, and to learn what those appropriate resources are within our community. Augusta is very isolated in many ways from learning what our county resources are, and we should improve that.
Brad?
Well, very well said, Linda and Kath. And the only thing I could add to that is, as well as the funding, like Kathy pointed out, some grant writing and stuff is hard to get. There is things we can do within the community, is starting our outside of township taxpayers' money, of course, would be a non-profit charity fundraiser or donations within our own residents to help those in our own residents in Augusta Township, support them when they're down on their luck or they're lost their job or whatnot, to help pay for their bills or supplement their bills, you might want to say, or help them out in other ways. I just want to add that, and I think Kathy and Linda pretty much covered it.
Okay. Kath is going to start this next question first.
Can I add something?
Sure. 45 seconds.
I just want to point out that governments cannot appropriate money to social service agencies unless they're doing something specifically approved by law for populations that are approved of. And they provide a service and they report to that government. So like when we make a donation, say to the seniors, they're allowed by law because they're a specialized population. So it's really easy to say, well, we can, and I'm not trying to be difficult because I believe in social services. As a social worker for well over 30 years. I'm just saying by law, there are some things government doesn't fund itself. And so that's what I'm saying. It's a interesting place to walk. You have to be very careful what you do, because sometimes if you appropriate money, it's not legal.
Okay,
And
that's
so
a minute.
you have to know what you're
Does
doing with
anybody
it.
want to add anything?
Just one quick, I just want to clear something up. I wasn't talking about the township starting a nonprofit. Getting a community together would start a nonprofit organization, and outside of connection with the township. There's a lot of residents in this township who are very good at fundraisers and doing things like that. And it would be a separate entity outside the township, but it's a township to get that program rolling with some residents by having meetings and such. But that would be totally separate from the township. If I didn't make that clear, I'm sorry.
Linda.
Yeah, kind of going on what Brad said also, if we can find an area that someone might be willing to help us with, I know like downtown Williff has like the small food pantry type thing. And tough times like this, maybe someone will donate a bigger area to where, the community itself can come together, and also maybe like a closed closet, things like that people can come in and help other community members, and that may be something that we can look into also if someone has an area where that can be used for something like that as well.
All right. So our next question, and Kath will be the first one to answer it. Do you think we can grow our economy while maintaining our rural character? And if so, what are a few ways this could be done?
Well, I certainly hope we can grow our economy and maintain our rural character. That's been our master plan for a number of years. Yes, I do, but I think it requires being planful. And I think that for a while we have not been that planful. For one, we have to think very carefully about the kinds of businesses that are compatible with a rural agricultural community, and how do we encourage them. The other is that, for example, we recently had businesses that were applying to move into Willis that in fact many people were not happy about, and they were not willing to have attractive facades, and we had no ordinances at the time that would encourage that. You have to plan for what kind of development you want to have that will support the character of your community. And I think that we have not spent much time working on that and looking at how to promote that, and keep our character the way we want it. And I think that it can be done, but I think we need to pay attention to it.
And that's 90 seconds. Brad.
Well, I'm most definitely in favor of keeping this community urban, not becoming urban. I'm sorry. I like the country setting of Augusta Township. I do believe we need to support the businesses we have now first, and look in the future for the businesses we want to attract into our township. One way is that downtown Willis and Augusta around the township could be dressed up and made a little bit more beautification. Dress tree lighting, so LED lighting to make it cheap. Look at I think I said that. Look at downtown Willis as a whole. Make it a beautification, a place for people to come and support our local businesses that we have now, and then be able to support new businesses in the future. I like seeing Lynn's reflection in the city of Willis. I haven't had a chance to stop in there. I know where she used to be located, off Willis Road, further west. It's nice to see her in town there. So that's what I look at. And we have to be careful what kind of businesses, like Kathy said, we attract that would push us into further financial responsibilities. And that's it. That's my answer.
Linda.
I am most definitely interested in keeping this a rural area. This is where I grew up. This is why I live here. But I do think we have room for some small growth. I'm not talking about any big box chains or stores or anything like that, but I think that we have room for allowing maybe like small family diners or ice cream shops or things like that, small business type things. I don't think anyone's looking to have a Myers or a Walmart put up in their backyard. So I am definitely interested in something that's more aesthetically pleasing for a rural area. I also think we also need to look at township ordinances and see if there's something that we need to do for people to be able to build a little bit more individual housing in the area. Even small revenue adds up, and every time a house goes up in an area, that's more tax base, that's more revenue that comes to the township as well. So I think we need to look at ordinances and see what we'll work on that on growth as far as family growth in this area as well. I'm not talking about more community type, larger community areas. We have those, and at this point they're not even selling, so that's not going to work. So I think we need to look outside the box and do more of growth within our township as far as home base. And again, small businesses. I am really for local businesses. I have a plan to promote our local businesses around here right now. And yeah, I'd just like to see those continue to grow and things that are more pleasing and what township residents are looking for.
Okay. Does anyone want like 15 more seconds?
I'll take it. I just got something to add, if I can.
I'm sorry?
I said I'd like to add something if I could.
Yes.
One thing I do like is what Ben's going downtown Willis. She's trying to bring some weekend crafters in, weekend tent sellers and stuff like that. We have a lot of farmers in the community. It'd be nice to see like a full-fledged farmers market on Sunday, every weekend or every other weekend or once a month to support our farmers out here. It's always an attraction. So I just wanted to add that.
Kath, do you want to add anything else?
I did. I think the other thing is that whatever because we do have some areas that are zoned commercial, and once you're zoned something, you have to let whatever qualifies in. But it's really nice to encourage things that will, if they leave, that if a business comes and if it leaves, that it leaves the area usable again. Someone asked me once why I was in favor of solar. Was I going to use solar? I live in an entirely wooded property. Solar would do me no good whatsoever. But the thing I liked about it was that when they put in the panels, they're not cemented in. They're staked in. They grow plants underneath so that it keeps the ground underneath the panels cool. If they should ever have to pull up stakes, so to speak, when they leave ground that's still available to be cultivated again, to go back to farmland if someone wants to farm again. So I think we have to look at things. Ideally, we encourage business that allows for either us to go back to the land to go back to what it needs to, or encourages another kind of business that we want that suits our nature, whether it's a quilt shop or a specialty jam shop or whatever, to come back in and fill its space should it ever leave. And that's the thing I think that we try to encourage, something that fits our nature.
All right. You guys had a lot to say about that one. Does anybody want to add anything? I don't think 90 seconds was enough.
I think Brad's idea of the farmer's market is an excellent idea. I think that fits into our area. We do have a lot of farmers around here. I love that idea. And I think that's something that we should go with a little bit further. So yeah, Brad, you had a great idea with that.
Hello, dog.
All right. So Brad, you're going to start our next question. We don't yet know the full financial impact of COVID-19. Do you foresee a possibility of cuts being made to the budget?
To Augusta Township budget, I would hope so. I think that there's room for improvement in Augusta Township. I think we could cut some of our costs to the Woodhill Group, our lawyers' expense. I think as technology grows, we'll find it easier and easier for our elected officials to be able to perform their duties, and we'll be able to maybe reduce some of our staff. That may hurt, but technology is the way of the future. It's made a lot of people's jobs easier, a lot easier to manage. My job alone has become much easier with technology. What used to take me an hour now takes me 15 minutes. So I think as we get educated for our officials and everybody gets used to doing things in a more productive manner, I believe that our time management is going to come way up. We're managing our time where we need to, and not managing it so much where we don't need to. That's my answer.
Linda?
Yeah, I guess I was confused on if you were asking about this budget cuts, if there's going to be budget cuts to us or we need to make budget cuts. So I guess I'll answer both. Yeah, we are seeing some budget cuts already from the state financial funding. and that is something we'll have to work around. From what it sounds, we're getting a little bit more than what we originally had thought we were getting this year. As far as budget cuts within the township, yeah, there's always room for things that can be eliminated. Wood Hill has been here for a while. I don't think it was ever intended on being something that was here as a big presence is what it is. I think we're on the right track to be able to not have them as big of a presence. And that also saves money. I think there's a lot of different ways that we can do things. Anything that puts money back into residents' pockets by not having to pay out for it is an excellent thing to me.
Kath?
Okay. Well, again, yes, I think we will see some budget cuts. I think excuse me. I think right now they're not being as deep as they were anticipated, but that may change. Who knows what fall and winter is going to bring. In regards to, we do not pay a lot of money to staff. Now, in terms of consulting fees, I think that's going to change pretty dramatically. We right now we do pay pretty high consulting fees. We also did some very major upfront changes, which, you know, we created an entire billing system. We had to overhaul our entire treasury accounts from a previous embezzlement and tampering with the system. So that cost a great deal of money. We had to administer a SAW grant, which if the deadlines were not met properly, we would have had to repay well over $330,000 of the grant back for failure to do that. So yes, we've had a lot of engineering expenses. We've had a lot of accounting expenses in terms of doing that. I think that's going to change pretty drastically. The amount spent just with treasurer and clerk has dropped dramatically. Where it went up is in the supervisor's office and with the utility department. I believe once that's settled, that will go down dramatically also.
Anybody want to add anything quick? Linda?
Yeah, like Heather was talking about on different things that we've made improvements on and things have gotten better, that it makes it to where it can drop. I think on our utility system, that's going to be where we're going to be able to see that once we get these leak stops, once we get everything cleaned out, and we're not looking so much as to repairs as what we are as preventative. There's where we're going to have a lot of money that's not going to have to be spent on it as well. A lot's going out with it now. I think it'll pay off later on, and I think in the long run it's going to stay as well.
Brad, do you want to add anything else?
Just on the outside of Augusta Township, working at the airport, and looking at what's going on around the world, the business model of yesterday has changed for tomorrow. Businesses have learned that they don't have to fly people around the world as much. They can do a lot more meetings over the internet. You got people like Google and Twitter that are canceling their leases on office spaces. They found out they can make more money, more profitable, paying people to work from home. Their employees are happier. So they don't need to pay for all the expensive people going to work anymore. They're going to work from home. I think this COVID-19 is going to affect the economy, which in downturn will affect us in the future more than what we've experienced so far. I think 2020 is going to tell a telltale sign of what we can expect to come in the business world of today.
All right. This next question, I think it might need at least 2 minutes. Not sure. And Linda, you're going to be the first one answering this one. Do you have any different ideas to address our water issues, or do you think we are on the right path right now?
I think at this point we're on the right path, and the fact that we didn't have to implement a new Yucca raise shows that we're on the right path. I have talked to Brad. I think he's got some great ideas. It's something that would have to be more further looked into, but I think we're on the right path. I think stopping the leaks, cleaning out the lines. I think adding the new meters. I think these are all on the great path to where we need to be. We're already stopping the losses as far as theft, stopping the losses as far as water, just basically being lost. So I feel that this is the right path. I think we're making great strides on stopping a catastrophic failure, which would be very, very costly. And it's going to cost every single person. So yeah, I do feel that we're on the right path. I think these new meters is going to put their water usage in the residents' hands so they can see what they're doing. This will find out if they have any leaks in their house. So yeah, I do feel that we're on the right path with this.
Yeah.
I also feel that same way. And part of my rationale for that is 2018, one of the larger legal firms that works with townships throughout the state of Michigan put out an e-newsletter talking about the same issues that we have, that they had the structured rates where they were mostly commodity rates, which kept costs artificially low and failed to kind of keep people feeling more at ease after the recession, and failed to look at the increasing deterioration and depreciation of the equipment, and didn't account for capital improvement costs. And now they're facing the same crisis that we are. And in fact, we will have to replace the sewer main that is broken 3 times in the same place, and it is an $800,000 replacement. And the fact that we finally are having a capital improvement plan to be able to do that is, I think, an important thing. It's just like your car. If you don't do the maintenance, if you don't do preventative maintenance on it, the repairs get more expensive and it costs more to repair it than to replace it. And I think we are doing the right thing. It's a 5-year plan to get back on track. And I think it's a good thing.
Brad.
Well, I definitely agree with Linda. I'm not sure if the rates are exactly where they should be today, or if they could be decreased or increased later. Stopping leaks are vital. I also believe coming up with a 1, 3, and 5, or 1, 5, 10, 20-year plan to address these water mains and sewers is vital. That's something I like to put together with a committee, some township officials, and identify the worst pipes that we've had the most breaks with, and start with them with capital improvement, and so on down the line. It might take 10 years to replace all the lines that are broken or need replaced. Not broken, but need replacement. It might be a 20-year plan, depending on cost, available funding, any grants we might qualify for, and so forth. The other thing that I had this looking into, and Kathy was actually helpful with one thing, making sure everybody's paying their fair share. Modular home communities, I know we do not charge every modular home within those modular home communities are not paying the fee that's being charged to Augusta Township residents. We're not allowed to, and I know that's legal grounds on that. So I would look at converting that fee into our water rates to where we can reach those homes every time they turn their faucets on. So everybody's paying their fair share. Nobody's getting benefits from the taxpaying Augusta Township taxpayers and those who own the property with homes on them versus people who live in modular home communities. The community itself probably does pay the fee, but those community homes are up around 700 to 800 and they're only growing bigger or larger. So that's my rebuttal of that, or answer, sorry.
Anybody want to add anything? I know that's an important issue.
I do, because first of all, I just have to say this. People who live in the modular homes are metered with larger meters, and they are charged more per REU. And so they are charged for every every gallon of water that is metered through. And so the modular home, the modular park owner pays the township for every unit of water that's metered through. Now, what they do is they charge their residents to repay them back. I'm very much aware that residents do not pay us directly, but they do pay the modular homeowner. And believe me, they pay a bill that reflects water usage. You know, so, but no, they don't pay it directly. The actual individuals who live in each mobile home does not pay directly to the township. But every bit of water is metered through and charged for to the park owner at a particular rate. And it is higher than the residential rate to the park owner. It's because they have a much larger meter. And so, and it is done by law. It is set up by law, you know, to follow the rules of how that's watered through the AWAW. I think that's the right initials. It's a particular code in the waters and in water utility systems. So I hate this debate because it makes it seem like people who live in mobile homes are cheating us, and they're following the law just as everybody else is.
Okay. Brad, you want to say something?
Yeah, Kathy, I'm sorry that sounded that way. I'm not saying they're cheating us. I'm saying that when you add up the $32 fee for water and $32 for sewage, and what Augusta Woods pays, and I understand they back charge every home in there. I understand that. But when you look up the fee for water and sewage,
we're not back charging.
No. I'm saying the park owners do.
Okay.
Okay. But when you add up those water and sewer fees, do they add up to the same amount of money that would be paid for 800 homes with their water rates?
They're metered at a different rate than we are. The home,
Right. And
the park itself has larger meters, so
yep.
they're charged at the REU is at a different rate than the residential REU. Residential REU is up to a 1-inch pipe is the $32. You know, theirs is, they have 2 larger meters, and that's the best way I can explain it. And it is by law, by the, you know, it is the legal, lawful way of doing it. And I understand what you're saying. But I mean, it's one of those things where there's nothing we cannot charge them more than what we charge them. It follows the guidelines that are established for that type of housing, and just like the schools have the same kind of meter. They flush the toilets probably a lot more than any of us do. Okay, and I can't go charge people that live in Ypsilanti Township rates because their kids, or Belleville, because their kids go to Lincoln schools. So it's been figured out by whoever, you know, by the utility, you know, coordinators in the sky. You know, and I'm trying not to be, I know I'm probably being irreverent, but I guess it's like one of those things, and it'll probably never seem like it's totally fair. Unfortunately, it happens to be the legal position on it.
Right.
Stop you there. Linda, out of fairness, do you want to add anything?
Yes, I just want to add, I do see where Brad's coming from, and I do see what he says, that this should be fair across the board for every single person. I get that 100%. But Kath is correct on the REUs that go through on the bigger meter, and the fact that our hands are tied on changing any of that because it's just the law. No matter what plan we come up with, unless the law changes, we can't change that one bit. Is this something that we can look into to make sure that the playing ground is level and fair for everybody? Of course, that's something we can check into to make sure. Then we can go from there if it's not, to see if there's any way that we can change things. But again, as Kath pointed out, we have to follow what the law says. So, but I totally get what you're saying. I want everyone to be paying the same amount and not one person getting a benefit over another person. I get that 100%.
And that's all I was saying, Lynn, is that we need to look at that.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
you
I
know,
have no problem looking at that.
The laws are always made to be changed. There's a way to petition for the change.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're already almost an hour in. So let's try to keep them at 90 seconds if we can, but I understand there are things that people are very interested in. Okay. So our next question, Kath is going to be the first to answer. Can you hear me, Kath?
Yes.
Oh, okay. How can we encourage more residents to attend board meetings and increase their involvement in township decision making?
Gee, that's $1 million question. We could fight more. We seem to have got more attendance when we were fighting. So I honestly don't know. I think that's a problem in a lot of places, that, you know, board meetings almost by necessity have to occur in the evenings, and lots of people don't want to come in the, you know, if you have them during the day, people are working. If you have them at night, people want to be home. They want to eat dinner. They don't want to come out. They're home with their kids. They say they're too tired. They're too busy, whatever. So unless there's something happening every day, every meeting that catches somebody's interest, they tend not to come. I watched it. Even when we were an entertaining board with all our arguments and shenanigans, we still weren't a full house. So I think one of the best things to do is to be inviting, to have things that are of interest to the township. But a lot of our stuff is business as usual, so it's going to be boring. The other thing is to videotape and make things available for people to watch, so that if they want to be informed, they can easily be informed. And I personally would include other things in our minutes besides just the action taken. If we're going to take an action on roads, I would make what roads we approved to have graveled in the minutes. We used to do that sometimes in a previous board that I was on. We would have that. I think that's a good thing, because then people know if they wanted to come and say, I really think you should have included this, that they would come and then do that.
All right, Brad. Next.
Who's it on?
Brad.
Okay. So how do we get more people to be entertained? I think public hearings are a good way. Public involvement, committees, park committees, utilities committees, business and planning committees. I'm big on residents being involved. It's money that pays the township. I think they should have a say in everything we do. I think every board meeting should be recorded and be accessible by any resident in Augusta Township. I would like the idea that residents could send in their questions ahead of time, because people have busy lives, right? Same as time management in township and stuff for even officials. People have kids, they have dinner to get on the table. Maybe they got a kid's soccer game going on, and they have some questions they want to ask, but they can't make the meeting. I would be in favor of them sending those questions in advance, and we answer those questions on the videotape. I don't see a problem with that. I am familiar with the Closed Meeting Act, so I understand the rules of that, but I just believe that having community involvement in every step of the way takes a lot of the distrust out from the residents, and opens the floodgates for information if they want.
Linda?
I'm gonna go right along in the same path of what they did. We have to get ways for people to be involved with the meetings by giving them the opportunity to be involved. A video camera was purchased pre-COVID. We were planning on recording the meetings. I agree, a lot of people's lives are busy. It is in the evening. But if they can be at home and they can watch this, that may spark an interest for them to want to do, let's say, like Brad said, if we had a committee, different committees for different things, that may get them involved. If we're talking about a certain area, let's say like the water, you know, if they know that that's coming up, that might make them want to be there versus watching the video to have their voices be told. It may be something, seeing how we're going all virtual now, that maybe we could have something like what you're doing right now, Katie, and being a moderator. If we do stay with being more technical, we do have the 3-minute response time, but maybe we could have someone that's looking over there and asking questions for people that's a little bit nervous about getting on there, but it can be presented to the board. I think there's a lot of different ways to get people interested in coming to board meetings, but getting it out there for them to see it is the first thing to do. Whether that's Zoom, I fully am in support of recording Zoom meetings. I am fully in support of, once we get back to in-person meetings, having those recorded and having them out. And I think that's the area that's going to get more people interested in government business and wanting to be more involved in the community.
The only thing, can I add something or no?
Sure.
The only thing I wanted to add is, outside of the board meetings, I think that the Zoom cameras and the recording should be available for any committee that wants to use them. So that way, if there's a parks committee going on, or any kind of committee meeting where the community is involved, maybe somebody can't make those meetings, but they like to be on the committee. They'd be able to see what's going on with those committees, what they're talking about. Maybe they want to make a meeting and point something out, or maybe they have an idea and they'd be able to submit their thoughts to that committee. I just think it should be opened up for anybody's use that's doing township business or on committees.
Anybody want to add anything? Oh, Linda.
Yeah, well, as far as, I mean, like right now with different committees and things like that, as far as COVID, that makes it hard to start those type of things. Not to say that they can't, but as far as like ZBAs and planning commissions and all those things, those are all Zoomed. They are all put on there telling people when these meetings are and they can join. So I think we're doing right now what we can do to keep the community involved and informed of what business is going on for, like I said, ZBA, planning commission, things like that. I think at this point we are doing what we can do, especially with the current situation.
Kath, do you want to add anything?
I would just say that I personally am in favor, as long as we do Zoom, I personally would record all of our Zoom meetings and have them on either our website and or Facebook, or both, our Facebook page. I'm also a fan of public hearings and town hall meetings. And I also like the idea of, I have always liked the idea of having committees. I think that they're important, and I think having residents on them. It's one of the things, in terms of like our roads and our drains, generally we have somebody be a liaison we've had a liaison from the board, but I really think we ought to have representatives from different parts of the township on those committees, because the roads and the drain issues are different in different parts of the township. And I think having representatives from that giving information to us, rather than us like going and saying, oh, well, let's work on this. I think I personally think it's ridiculous. And I think that people who are living in each area of the township should be telling us what their needs are, what their roads are like, what their drains are like, and what needs to be happening. Now, we might have to prioritize, but I think we need to be told from residents what to do. And I think asking them to be on committees with us is one of the first ways to start.
Mm-hmm. I think we all agree committees are a good thing and we need to do them.
I think it's ridiculous to be afraid of your residents. You know, I think that's a bad thing. And I think trying to sugarcoat things is not a smart way to go about things. I think you tell people the truth. You tell them what you're facing, and you deal with what their concerns are, good and bad.
Agree.
All right, next question. So this one will be answered first by Brad. What would you do if the township received an unrestricted gift of $100,000?
Say that again, please.
What would you do if the township received an unrestricted gift of $100,000?
What would I do with it?
Yeah.
Make sure it's legal. Make sure it's legal that we can receive such a gift. If such a gift could be used for our utilities for our water, would tremendously help out our residents. Might be able to reduce our water fees a little bit because it wouldn't take so long to get up to where we should be. Put it to good use. Committees and so forth. Each committee receive some of that money, maybe. It's hard to say. I mean, what do we need? Where we got to shore up? But the water seems to be the biggest issue.
Linda.
I second that 100%. I think our utilities is the #1 priority that anybody should be looking at. Anything that reduces fees and puts money back in residents' pocket is #1 priority. Yeah, water will always be, if we got more money, I'd look at better communications and things like that for the township. But to me, #1 priority is always utilities to get the fees down.
My turn? Okay, well, I answered this once before in Heidi Graham's thing, and I'm going to say again, $100,000 is really a drop in a bucket in a municipal budget. It works out to $14 and maybe 25 cents per resident in this township. So it's not a ton of money. So yes, if it could help out the water situation, that'd be great, the utility situation. However, that would not benefit the entire township. So I gave this some additional thoughts, like how could you use $100,000 that would benefit the entire township? It will only put gravel on anywhere from half a mile to maybe 1 mile of road. So it doesn't go far. However, it might fund between 2 and 3 years worth of a preventative, hiring someone to like deal with roadside dumping and disposal. It could, generally sidewalks are the responsibility of the property owner, but if you wanted to make the villages where they are mixed use and have commercial stuff, and you're looking at bringing business, those areas are designed to bring business and hopefully revenue into our township. If you wanted to apply that to sidewalks, that might be an expense, because that's, and then have it later become the responsibility of property owners for upkeep. It could go to the purchase of cameras to find dumping, to spot dumping throughout the township. I try to think of things where that money could actually go and benefit the entire township. Helping to develop watershed projects.
Does anybody want to add anything else?
I will. Again, yeah, $100,000 is a drop in the bucket when you look at utilities, but anything that helps with the #1 problem to me is always where I would go first. And as far as it not benefiting everybody in the township, if we have a catastrophic break, then it comes down to we take a loan and everybody's paying that. So that,
No, they don't.
Turn around would be benefiting everybody.
Actually, that's not true. When you take a loan, the whole township doesn't pay for that. That becomes, it's attributed only to the users.
I mean, that's different from what I heard. That was the first time I heard that. So yeah, there'd be something more.
Like our bond, that's only to the users. They're the only ones that pay the debt service. It does not go to the rest of the utilities. They're user or consumer paid, not the whole township does not pay for that.
The only thing I can say is I understand what Kathy's saying about benefiting the whole community. I wasn't getting her point at that, but I understand what you're saying, Kathy. People who don't use water or sewer wouldn't get any benefit at $100,000. I understand that. I mean, to be the safest, take a vote from the residents. Let them decide where to spend it.
All right. Our next question, Linda will be the first to answer. What will you do to help residents feel confident that the township is being run in an ethical and transparent manner?
I think we're doing that already, and I think that's what we continue to do. I think well, first of all, I think it's the residents board. As far as I'm concerned, they have a right to come in there and they get to see financials. They get to see whatever they want, whether it's done through FOIA or whatever. I think transparency in that way is important. As far as showing ethics and that everything is running right, I think that's being shown in our audit. I think that shows that the money is going where it's supposed to be. There's been 3 audits that's been perfect audits. Those are the things that shows it's going right, that people are being honest, and as some people has used the word, lining people's pockets. It's not happening. We're not having the same issues. I know people get upset about hearing about things with the past, but that's what brings that into this question here. And again, I think that our perfect audits, I think all that is showing that everything is done correctly. And I think as long as we have people looking at us and showing that it is going in the right direction, that does show that people are being honest. Things are going the way that they're supposed to be. So I think we're well on our way of showing people that it is being done the right way.
Kath?
I have to agree with Linda. I think one of the biggest signs of transparency is and at least that we're being ethical and doing what we're supposed to do, is our audits. That shows at least that our money is actually being handled appropriately. And the audits are not done by Woodhill. The audits are done by an independent auditor. So, and then they're turned over to the state, and the state reviews it. The state reviews all of the financial information, and so that's how that's done. The other thing I think is that you provide more and more information to people, and you keep them informed. And I don't think we do a very good job of that, what we've been doing and why we're doing it. And I think the other thing is that you give much more advance notice when issues come up, things that we have to deal with as a community. The fact that we had underfunded our utilities has been known for a while. We just didn't, the people who were overseeing that didn't bother to share that information. They didn't share it with the board. And I'm not saying this board, I'm saying this has been going on for a while. They didn't share it with the board, and they didn't share it with the public, and then it looks like it's sprung. But it's been there for a while. I think you have to share more information. I think you have to be more timely with it. I think you inform people. I think we should do more of that. I think we should do a couple more newsletters that actually says what's going on. And they shouldn't all just be holly jollies. Here's what we did well. It should also include here are things that we're facing. Here are challenges that we will face as a community. What do we need to do to pull together? COVID is an example of that. We haven't put out a thing about how we could face this together.
All right, that's 2 minutes. Brad.
Well, agreeing with Linda and Kathy, and I have to, the meetings, making public meetings as much available as possible is one good way. I think if a resident has to FOIA information to get it, that's negative. I think township officials should make themselves available to sit down with the resident and give them their financial copies that they want. And if they need help understanding them, sit down with them and help them understand what's what. Budgets are tough. Sometimes they're confusing. They're not the easiest thing to read all the time. And people who work with them all the time know exactly what they say. They know where the money's spent. And they understand it. Residents don't look at that every day. Some of them don't. And I'm not being negative about anybody. But officials could sit down with them and help them understand some of the budget items. We could also break down those budget items into smaller groups. What goes underneath what budget, what's factored into that budget and the cost. And water mains for sure repairs need to be publicized, how much we're paying for the repairs. I don't think up to this point or past administration had any idea what they're paying for cost and so forth. I hope that's gotten better. I've heard nightmare stories either way, but just openness. The more open you are, the more your residents will trust you.
All right. Next question. I'm guessing this is going to be another 2-minute plus one. And Kath, you're going to be the first one to answer this one. Do you see the Woodhill Group as a permanent solution to township financial issues, or do you have a plan to reduce or eliminate their use?
Well, I don't see them an answer to our financial issues at all. What I see them as is consultants. And no, I probably wouldn't eliminate them permanently. I think having accounting experts as a consultant is probably a wise thing. The whole reason we got into underfunding our utilities is because we didn't have anyone who was a financial expert actually reviewing what was happening for the last 10 years with our utilities, and to say, you know what, you're underfunding, you're losing money, hand over fist. However, I don't think they need to I think once they are done training us and they've completed the reconciling of our mismanaged accounts, that task is done. The SAW grant will be completed. We should have a fully functioning billing department, to take over the billing for our utilities. So I see them fading back more into the background of being consultants, like a couple of times a year, kind of reviewing, like how are we doing with our bond, because we have $4 million out in bonds, and how are we doing with that? How, if we have any major capital projects going, just taking a look at how we're managing, those kind of things. And I see them fading back into the same way that our planners and our engineers are, that we use them only as needed. And they fulfill the same role that they do for several other townships, that they're there to provide you with their expertise in terms of any like major financial kinds of issues. And that we don't spend more than a few $1,000s a year on them, which is pretty typical. And almost every business has an accountant that they ask questions of, even if they do their own books. If they want to stay in business and do well, they usually have somebody that they can ask a question of. So that's my question with Woodhill. That's my answer with Woodhill. I see them having a much smaller role down the line, but an important one.
Okay, Brad?
I said that in my opening statement. I do see cutting the Woodhill Group back as well as the attorney. The only thing I would do to make sure we're paying competitive rates is put term limits, whether it be a 3-year contract and it comes up and we take bids from other groups to make sure that we're getting competitive prices. When you get too comfortable with consultants, they tend to start raising their prices a bit. Working with procurement, I do at the airport, all of our contracts are term limited. We go out for bid every 1 year, 2 year, or 3 year to make sure we're getting the best price out there for the services we need. So that's something I would do. I necessarily don't have anything personally against Woodhill Group. Unless they come out that they were raking us over the coals, I see them playing a much smaller role.
Linda?
Yeah, I think it does need to be scaled back, and I think that's been the plan, and I think that's more of a talk and that's been talked about lately is them having a smaller role. Do I think that every township should have some outside consultants? Yes, I do. I think that's financially responsible. I think that shows ethically that someone else is watching the books as well, which also gives the residents the assurance that things are being done right and that there is more than one or two or three sets of eyes on something. Again, I do think that they've had too much of a role as far as keeping them for longer, but I think the plan has been, and I think it's being followed, and I think it will continue to follow, is that they will have a smaller role. And as Cass said, they're going to be more consultants that we use, you know, at certain times throughout the year instead of having the bigger role that they're having now and playing a bigger part. So yeah, I agree. It needs to be scaled back, but I also do believe that you always should have someone else having another eye on things and making sure everything is going the way it's supposed to be.
All right. And this is my last question, and unless there's any more questions. I took the question is, do you believe residents have access to the most information possible in this digital age? And I'm thinking that must refer to internet access, but take it how you take it. Brad, you're the first one to answer this question.
No, I don't think residents have access to the information at their fingertips like they should have. Again, if you want residents to trust you, the more open you are, the more availability you make records to them, the more you're going to gain their trust and to take away the fear that you're doing anything unmoral and ethical. I believe there's more that can be done to make public township records more available to the public without having to file FOIA requests and so forth. As a union president, if I had to file a FOIA request, it means somebody didn't want me to have information. I don't want residents to have to file a FOIA request when they want something. I want it at their fingertips so they can have access to it all the time. That's how I'd answer that.
Linda?
I guess I kind of got lost in the question here. Do we think resident has access to the full as far as, okay, I guess I'll take both sides.
Possible in this
I'm sorry?
digital age.
The digital age.
Yeah.
Our communication is horrible in this township. I will say that right off. I think we need to work on communication as far as everyone having the capability on that end of it. That is something that I've talked about and that I would like to continue. And again, that goes back to grants. That also goes to funding that the county may have. We have to have better communication, especially at a time we are in now for school kids, people working. Communication is a must and it needs to be improved. As far as us communicating, I don't think we're using all the resources. We have a social media account. I think we need to be using that more. I think everything needs to be put on the website, which I do feel that they're doing okay on the website and getting that out, but I think we need more. I agree with Kathy as far as talking about meeting minutes and having more information. We need to use those resources that we have to put that information out. Those are not costing the township anything, so use them as much as possible. That's I hope I answered them both or which way you were looking for.
Kath?
Well, first of all, the fact that we have some of the poorest broadband service and internet service in the county would be a very clear indication that no, we don't have the best communication services in this digital age. And we also have not had, people have been meeting on the broadband issue across the county for several years, and we haven't, up until recently, no one from this township has been involved with that. It's primarily been supervisors from townships who have been involved with that, and we haven't had anyone that I know of in participating with that. until Belinda got it. Belinda was interested in it. And I was not available to do that when they were meeting. I had other things that I was doing. I also think that as a township, the board itself does not utilize its resources for communicating as well as we could, being our website, being the way we share our minutes, being communications with the community via like newsletters or whatever, and using our social media platform. I don't think we communicate as well as we could. I don't think, I mean, I think I probably put more announcements on our, you know, I put more board related issues or project stuff on our thing than probably anybody else. Linda puts community stuff. I post community stuff, resources on our website probably more than anybody else, and have ever since I've been on the board. I don't know, half of our board members don't post anything. Maybe, probably more than half. I think there's 3 of us that really post probably anything, communications. I think that's a sad reflection of our board's interaction with the community. That's just my personal opinion, but that's been my opinion for 8 years. That's a sad thing. I think we need to improve that. I think we, you know, and there's going to be people who will not do digital. There are people in this community who would prefer not to like get on the internet and watch a Zoom meeting, and they're not going to watch a board meeting, and they're going to want something sent in the mail. And that's also, you know, that's a conundrum, because people will say, why are you spending the money on mailing things to people? You know, because we got that with the, you know, don't waste your money on sending out absentee ballot applications. So I don't know, but I think it needs to be much better. I think we have to put our heads together, and I don't think it's just the board has to put their heads together. I think we have to have input from other people from a variety of lifestyles to say how to do communication better.
Does anybody want to add anything?
Well, I do. You know, and Cass, right, some people don't like getting on watching Zoom meetings, and I have to agree with her. There is going to be those people who don't, but they still want the information. You know, they got the meeting hall right next to the township. There'd be nothing wrong with purchasing some computers tied to a database where residents could come in and get on a computer and look up the information they wanted, and offset the cost for paper stuff by, I mean, it's just a thought. You make it free to print out as much as you want, or you charge 5 or 10 cents a piece of paper. But I think there's doable ways where they can come in and use a computer and look up what they want. And have people there assist them in learning how to do that would probably also be a benefit.
You are talking staff then.
In the township thing, didn't they used to have a computer for that, Kath? Like a while back?
Yes.
I could be wrong, but
yes,
I thought they did.
And the supervisor at the time had it removed.
I think he's right. I think this is something that we should have that access for people.
Yeah,
But
you can look up stuff in the BSNA.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's something we need to go back to. I also want to point out, we got like the RAC, we got the Planning Commission. I think these are the type of things that when it comes to like our township, Facebook page and things like that, I think we should be appointing people from, at least one person from each one of those groups that is going to be the communicator for those type of things. So those committees are also getting that information out about what they're doing in their committee. Like I said, I know we got the RAC, we got the Planning Commission, we got the Fire Department Committee, which I've been trying to keep posted on what's going on with as far as, you know, how the fire department is building and stuff. But I think every single one of these committees that we have, or boards and things like that, I think we need to start having at least one person that's going to be the liaison that puts that information on there, and we give them the access to do that type of things.
the questions I have. Jeff, do you have anything?
Are you guys up for a couple more questions, or we need a seventh inning
Yep.
stretch?
No, I'm fine. I can stand to stretch.
Okay, take a
I'm
stretch.
doing it- I'm doing it right now.
Jeff,
No
is
big
it-
jumping jacks, no windmills, none of that.
oh. Is it windy where you are? It sounds like you're breaking up, Jeff.
I probably am, because now that I have my, gosh, hang on. I don't know what's going on. I've had issues with this. I can hear everybody fine when
Okay.
I don't have a mic on. So it's definitely on my end.
Did you turn your phone on too?
Turn my phone on too?
Yeah, do you have your phone on also?
I don't know.
Okay.
No, I think it's just junk equipment. Is everybody ready?
Brad?
Yeah.
If I break up too much, I don't know, slap the screen or something. So I have a couple of interesting questions, and I got one that's just kind of fun, I think. But anyway, so the actual master plan revision, I haven't seen one since 2000 that I can find. Is anybody?
2015 we did it.
2015 was not an update though. It was just passed on. It was the same, as far as I can tell. It was the same one from 2010.
Mm.
That's what I'm asking is somebody going to push for an actual revision during this term?
We're
Or
reviewing
isn't
it
due this
in the
year?
planning commission now.
Correct. It's due this year, but is it going to be an actual revision, or is it just going to be passed on like it has been? So even if it was 2015, Kath, that's a long time. You know, it goes back to the point of, you know, you have different zones that are set a certain way. Some of those zones could probably be revised because some of the marketing out there now has been revised. Marijuana for one, which I wasn't going to bring up, but so I'm going to start with Brad, and then I'm going to say Kath, and then Linda will be last on this, if that's okay.
Well, I wouldn't be wrong in saying to get public involvement, looking at the zoning master plan and getting a public committee together to do some polling to what the residents want to see, what their thoughts are in the zoning, current zoning ordinances, eliminate the master plan, and see if there's a need to change those zonings. I'm big on the public. I'm sorry. Residents are I'm big on residents. Their input is vital to every decision. We should be listening to them before we make any decisions on anything. It's been my whole campaign, voice for the residents, and that's just where I start at.
Okay, Kath.
Okay. Well, in terms of the master plan, it is being reviewed right now in the planning commission. And there's, I know Mr. Wolf has brought in several things that he's wanted us to review and possibly revise. There has been some zoning revisions that the areas for the villages have become were rezoned to be village mixed use. Those were presented at public meetings, and there were people who came to the public meetings to discuss why that was being done, and it actually was that particular zoning change was done to benefit primarily homeowners who, if under the old rules, if some damage happened to their homes, they could not replace them because they wouldn't have been compliant because they don't have big enough lots. And so it helped to make it so like for people who live like in Whitaker or who have houses in Willis, that if anything happened to them, their homes could be replaced by their insurance and be considered conforming. So that's why that was done. And yes, so I've been going through the stuff with the master plan that we've been looking through it. The problem has been is that we haven't had a lot of meetings this year, partially because of COVID, partially because of quorums. One individual has not shown up a few times and hasn't called in to say he's not coming. And so I don't know what's happening with that.
Okay,
And let me just tell you something. We do polling we do monkey surveys for residents to put in for the master plan. So they are polled.
Okay, Linda.
Okay, I think master plans should be updated way more than what they are. I think this should be done at least every 2 to 4 years. Quite honestly, if it's 4-year term, I don't see a problem with it being done at the beginning and in the middle of um, that election time, the election span. I think we need to always be looking at things that need to be updated. I think we need to be going with the change of the times, just like we did with the solar panels. I think going in the future, we have to be more flexible on things like that. As things grow, whether it's, like I said, people being able to have more houses on their property or things like that, or allowing for small businesses to come through. I think that we just need to be looking at this a whole lot sooner. A lot of people are going green. We have to allow for that type of that kind of growth and movement as well. But I most certainly think that it needs to be looked at more sooner than what it is. And I do agree that we do need public input. We need to put it out there that a master plan is being revised, redrawn up, whatever. We need that out there so we can hear what residents' needs are to go with that and to follow that plan. Just like I think ordinances need to be checked and looked at as time goes on, I think a master plan also needs to be looked at more often and go with the times and the changes that the world's going into. And that's pretty much what I'd say.
All right, thanks. So the next question is kind of focused more towards Brad Manley and Kath Howard, simply because they want that position of actual leadership. But Linda, you actually, as, let's see, what they say, a volunteer position. Anyway, so you would want to chime in on it too, but it is kind of more towards the people that are running the meeting, which is, so we're actually eliminating second shift workers from communicating with the board. Okay, we all know this. It's tough for people that work second shift to actually deal with a meeting. And so this has gone on through this whole forum as to how to bring those people in. The other thing that goes along with it that I think we've overlooked during this whole conversation is government. It was made to move slowly. And Kath has more than once said that they've been do or die votes. And I've asked the question before, how do we avoid those do or die votes? So to rephrase that is, how do we slow down the process of government, get people informed before an actual big vote is taken, so it's not a do or die vote? And I'm going to start with Kath on this one, then I'm going to go to Brad, and then Linda, unfortunately, you're going to be last again.
Okay.
Okay. Well, my own belief is that, first of all, whatever, I think you bring things to the table as they come. Like, I've known that we were looking at water meter replacement since probably late 2017, early 2018, because I was attending some of the the utility advisory meetings if we didn't have a quorum of a board, so I could like pop in and listen. So I've known that. I've been waiting for the supervisor to bring that up. It came up once briefly, it was dropped. It didn't come up again until just recently. I think we should have been talking about it all these last couple of years. I've known that we've had water problems and pipe problems. I think we should have been talking about this. All this. I don't think you wait. I think you talk about it. This is coming to our attention. We're exploring this, and you report on it consistently so that people know what's going on, and it gets in a board packet so that it's in writing. So when you're putting it out, people see it. Your utility report that shows how much you're purchasing from Yucca and how much people are paying, which is a big difference. We're buying a lot more water from Yucca than customers are paying for. You have that in the board packet, not as a handout. So that you have that information coming out over a period of months and years, not in a couple of weeks. And oh, by the way, you haven't been responding to a letter from the state, and now it got sent to the clerk, and the clerk brings it to the attention of the board. And you have 30 days to like turn in an asset management plan with a rate restructuring program, because we're insolvent. and we're going to get dinged by two state overseers on utility services, Eagle and something with the Planning Act, because we haven't done a capital improvement plan. So I would not do things that way. I like to prepare for crisis, and imagine what can happen, and like, let's go for it. Let's do things so that we don't have a crisis. So that's how I would do things.
Thanks. Brad, go ahead.
Hey, can you hear me, Jeff?
I can hear you. Yep.
Well, I think the issues that I've been seeing over and over again is the result of poor leadership. It starts with the supervisor. Like the president of the union, you have officers, you have a treasurer, you have the clerk, you have the secretary, you have your auditors, trustees, and so forth. But the supervisor's not in tune with all of his officers, then the supervisor isn't well rounded to deal with all the issues. A well-oiled machine is going to bring those issues out when they need to come out, way ahead of time, provide public input, put things out on Zoom meetings and emails, and provide avenues for people to find out the information they want to find out. Dealing with second and third shift workers, I've said that before, they should be able to write in, ask their questions, be answered at a board meeting, write this township supervisor email or the clerk's email, the treasurer's email, whatever information they want. They should be able to send those emails to those officers and get a prompt response. Open up that communication line. Again, issues that are coming about that may be 6 months or a year away should be brought out immediately. As soon as you know that there's an issue that's going to impact the residents of Augusta Township, or there's a major vote that's going to impact the residents of Augusta Township, it should be out there promptly. You should have public hearings on it, public involvement, committees formed. You want to get the opinion of the Augusta Township residents as soon as possible to evaluate your opinion, and so the board can make a good, sound decision on what's before them. Do or die deadlines, as you put it, that's sad. That just shows me nothing but lack of communication among the officers, the lack of effort being put forth by the supervisor, if that's who it's on. You should never really get to do and die situations unless you're just not up for what's going on in the township. I believe that working together with the officers, you won't find yourself in a do or die situation. That's my answer.
Thank you, Brad. Go ahead, Linda.
Okay, I agree. This starts at the top. This starts with the supervisor. That's the chain of command. It starts there and it trickles down. I know Kath had brought up at one of the meetings that we need a officer's report where the rest of the board is getting to see what is happening. As a trustee, we're not in that office. We're not hearing everything that's going on. So a lot of times when things come to a board, it's been talked about by everybody else, and we're coming in, as far as I'm concerned, at like the 11th hour. And I would like to have more information way ahead of time. I think we also need a checklist that has to be followed every single time that we have a major decision coming up. Let's say like the water meters and things like that, where it's talked about so many, check off so many times that this was brought up at a board meeting. Check off how many times that it was put in the newspaper for an announcement. Check off how many times that it was put on our social media and on our website. That way, if you're following the same procedure every single time, nothing is getting missed. Nobody is being left out. And again, starting from the top all the way to the bottom, follow a checklist. It's uniformed. Everything's done exactly the same way every single time.
All right, thanks. So now I'm going to combine a couple questions and make them all one. We're going to start with Linda this time. We'll go to Kath, and then we'll go to Brad. So currently, it seems that the elected officials like to promote social events, car shows, whatnot. So I was wondering, if you had that $100,000 that we were talking about, what would stop this board from getting with a 401c and creating a community garden in, say, the new park area that was just sectioned off for some walkways or whatever? I don't even know what's going on there completely. But basically, what would you feel about bringing the community together with some kind of a community project such as a community garden? And Linda, I wanted to start with you because you kind of have an interest in that area. So we'll start with you, and then Kath, and then Brad. That'll work.
As far as parks and things like that, I don't oppose them. I think that those type of things need to be brought up and voted on by the people, because those do come with expenses. You can start out with $100,000 to pay for these, and that's great to get it started, but it's one of those things where you're going to continue to have to pay for. And again, like I said before, there's certain people that think if you have that, you have to have like police services and stuff like that. So that's the type of things that we need to find out. As far as like community gardens, town center type get together thing, I love that idea. For me personally, I love that idea. Car shows and all that are great. I don't have a problem with that as long as it's not coming out, we're not spending big money out of taxpayers. It should fund itself in some way. And I do know Dan Wolf was pretty good at, before getting businesses around to pay for that type of thing, to where it's not all coming out of township money. I love the idea that Brad had about like the farmer's market. Those are the type of things that could be done at that. Whether it's like a Christmas get together where everyone comes together and we have our local school doing, some performance there for the township. I love that idea. But again, all those things come back to this needs to be voted in by the residents, because those do come at a cost. But me personally, I like the idea of having something where the community can come together at.
Okay, Kath.
I love the idea of having a place where people come together too. I'm gonna go to that before I go to the partnering with a nonprofit. The business of government is not to do entertainment and social recreation. The business of government is to take care of and protect the community's resources, to ensure that community property and resources function effectively and efficiently, and that you keep and you protect them from deterioration, from theft, from breakdown, etc. That is the job, and that we protect your financial resources. That's the job of government. And I am really into a lot of touchy-feely things. Let me tell you, I love ice cream socials and fireworks and going ooh and ah. I think that's all great. I don't think government is supposed to pay for that. That's not our job. That is for downtown development organizations and other kinds of nonprofits that do that type of things, community organizations, churches, etc. Do I believe government can partner with that? Absolutely. I've watched government partner. I've been part of government. I've worked for the county for years. I watched government partner with that, but they partner, and they may share a small portion of costs, and they may do a lot of other things, putting in manpower to help see that things come about, but they don't fund it completely, and they don't determine who will do what. They don't tell people, you will put this on, you will have this event for Easter, you will put lights on your building for Christmas. That's not what government is supposed to do. So with all of that said, my God, I sound like a libertarian or something. I'm not sure what, but anyhow, of course, partnering with a nonprofit to do something like a community garden or like the farmer's market, which was not Brian's idea. It actually was Sylvia Taylor's and Susan Burek's, and even I had mentioned it, because there are people doing farmers markets all over Washtenaw County trying to get people who don't eat fresh fruits and vegetables to do so. But anyhow, I think that's a grand idea. Once again, I caution about the idea is to partner. We can encourage, we can support, but government's job is not to be the primary source of revenue for that. Because that's not our job. And that's overstepping our bounds as government. That's a community thing, not government. And maybe that'll sound, maybe people think I'm really sound like an old witch talking like that. And that'll, okay, I'll sound like an old witch talking like that, but that's the truth. That's not the role of government, and that's not the role of a township supervisor. I'm supposed to be a cheerleader, not the dictator.
Thank you. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, I respect you, Kathy. I don't necessarily agree with you on everything, but I think a park would be awesome if that's what the township residents want. Again, it's what the residents want. Augusta Township officers work for the residents, and you know, government sometimes oversteps their bounds when they don't listen to the people who's paying their wages. I want to listen to the people who's paying their wages. If the residents want a park and it's voted to build a park, then that's what's going to be. If we have the funding to spend on that, and we're allowed to spend on it legally and clear and free, then so be it. Some things I've seen other communities do with parks. I've seen square dancing on Sunday for your more mature adults, I'll tell you that way. And then I've seen younger square dancing on Saturday for the younger crowd. And I got to see that firsthand and take part in it. And I thought it was awesome because the community all came out and they were doing square dancing. And then they simply, all they did was have a DJ play music. And they square danced. They did all kinds of dances right there in the park. And the township or the city, whatever, paid for the trash removal. They paid to maintain the park. They even had a little fund that they raised money to pay for the DJ out of that every week. If you don't believe me, look it up. That's in Grand, where's it at? I know where it's at. I just can't remember the city right now. West Lansing, Jeff, help me out here. West Lansing, Grand Rapids. Look up Grand Rapids. You'll see their city park and you'll see their dancing on there. They do it all the time. And it's an awesome site and it's a great community thrive. Brings the community out, brings them together. It also gets them into the downtown area. They spend money at the local businesses. They support the businesses down there. So it's kind of like one hand feeds the other, and they bring the community together. It'd be an awesome site. As far as other parks I like to see, there's a piece of property that Augusta Township owns right across the street from me. I know it's been brought up about building a little park rest stop for like horses and people bike riding and stuff, and I can see that. I can see horseback riders riding down Willis Road and stopping there and tying the horses up to a horse corral and giving them some water and stop eating in the park and then continue on their way. Or bicyclists doing the same thing. It's kind of neat. I'm not against parks at all. Again, it's what the committee comes up with. It's what the residents feel that they want to do. It's all about the residents. That's it.
All right, thanks. I want to thank you. Oh, go ahead, Kath. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say my rant there wasn't about parks. It was about the car shows and the other thing. Parks are a different thing, and I mean that's why I voted to go forward with the plan for the one park. You know, because residents did say they wanted a park. But the other stuff about we're going to have Christmas parades and we're going to have car shows, and that's not, government can partner, but initially government was trying to push that and force that people to do that. And I think that's great. People wanted it, but I don't think it's the role of government to like be the force behind that. I think they have to partner with that. And I do, and I actually know, I mean, I was asked about that. Let's go tell them that, let's go talk with them about this is what we want. And I'm like, no, we don't, that's not appropriate to say to go to such and such business and say, this is what we want. We want a Christmas parade down here. We want you to put up Christmas decorations and lights. We'll buy the Christmas decorations and lights. You know, nobody voted for us to do that. So that was just that part. So I'm not opposed to parks. I just want to make sure we stay within our lane.
Thanks, Kat. No, I love parks. I love events. I love having a Parks and Recreation that can oversee some of those events and work with those 401cs. But they are still recommending platform to the board, and then the board approves whether or not those things can happen. That's my opinion. That's the way I've always seen it. And I've done a lot of events, and they've always been fun. But anyway, I want to thank everybody. I want to thank Katie for moderating. I think you really enlightened a lot of things, a lot of questions that were out there. I'm sure we missed some because people didn't want to participate. But Katie, if you want to close it up, I'll give it back to you.
Okay. I just want to say thank you all very much for agreeing to do this and giving your time to it. And thank you, Jeff, for your help with the technology and put on questions and everything.
I agree. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff and Katie, both for putting this together, giving your time. Jeff, for getting everything together as far as the technology and stuff. I really appreciate this. Again, I wish more people had got involved in this because I think people need to hear what everyone has to say and what they think to make an informed decision. But I do want to thank you both for doing this, and hopefully it's informative for other people when they're trying to make their decision.
And I did post at the last minute on Augusta Township residents. It took me a while because it wouldn't take it under one. You know, I have two identities, Kath Howard and Kath Howard running for township, and it wouldn't take it from Kath Howard running for township. So I had to like rush around and see if it would take it another way because you can't share your thing. You have to copy and paste.
Right, because people wanted a closed group.
Right.
Yeah.
So I had to create a thing.
Right.
So,
Well, I appreciate your help on that as well.
Well-
Anything from you, Brad, or are you all set?
Oh, you're on mute.
unmute yourself.
Oh, well, I do that so I don't interrupt you and Linda when you're talking. I don't want that to wash out you guys. So,
Oh, I don't think you could. We're pretty able to go head to head with you.
well, that's not what I meant. I mean, my dogs are barking and stuff. So, Jeff, Katie, thank you for putting this on. Kathy and Linda, thanks for being part of the debate with myself. I wish we could have got Brian on some of these questions. I think the residents would really like to hear from him. And some of the other residents some of the other officials or candidates that are running for office. I hope this video makes it out and helps a lot of people make some informed decisions. I think it goes a long way in the credibility of these three candidates, me included, that we're not afraid to face the residents. And I hope people think about that when they're making their decision. We're out here. We're right here. We're right in front of you. We want to answer questions. And I hope that helps people realize that we don't have anything to hide.
All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this all up.